Often we can be surrounded by loads of people, lots of connection, and still feel deeply lonely, or be completely by ourselves and feeling really content and whole, connected to life. Once you start to understand what's actually going on in the nervous system, loneliness starts to make more sense. It's not really a sort of a momentary experience due to, your level of connection with people around you. It's something that has an origin far earlier and goes far deeper. Here are 5 things that I wish I had known about loneliness when I was trying to cope with this myself. And this weaves in a somatic nervous system perspective to help us really understand what's going on, where the loneliness exists, which is at the level of the body, not at the level of the mind. The first point is that loneliness is not about the here and now. It's not about today per se. It's about yesterday. It's about an echo of the past in the present moment. So the loneliness is like a wound that gets created in us early on when we're small, when we're not feeling fully held. It's like a signal from our nervous system, maybe when our mum isn't paying attention or our dad isn't really present with us. And it creates this, it's like a warning signal. It's like, hey, your needs aren't being met here. You're not being held in the way you need to. And it's a signal to that small part of us to kind of reach out for help. We might cry or scream, and that feeling motivates us to get that connection and therefore get our needs met. And when we're in situations that for whatever reason might echo that original moment, that situation, which could be one situation, it could be a whole era of our life when we were 1 or 2 or 3, that's when we start to feel the loneliness. Maybe there's a certain person near us who reminds us of our mum or our dad. We could even be in a room that maybe has certain looks similar. There could be all kinds of reasons why it echoes through us. But the key thing to remember is it's never about the here and now per se. It's the here and now as reminding us of a time in the past when we felt this way, and it's bringing that wound up to the surface again. The second point is that deep down, it's not about other people. Again, I mentioned that it's essentially this sort of attachment wound. So really it's about being met and held. And so it's not necessarily about the number of people around you. It's kind of like, are you being really met and held by these people around you? You can be surrounded by loads of people, but you don't really feel like you're safe or in connection with them. And that can bring up loneliness really powerfully. It's also worth noting that it's the loneliness is not being created by these people around you or the absence of the people around you. It's being triggered by that. The wound existed there already. You've been carrying it your whole life since it originated. And there's a certain moment when it gets triggered more and brought up to the surface. So it's always there, latent in the background. It's just sometimes it becomes more obvious than others. And that's not to do with people per se. It's just to do with people can echo that. So it's helpful to know that really it's this wound deep down that we carry all the time that gets echoed and brought up to the surface and is not really about the people around us. The third point is that connection can make us feel more lonely. This is a very interesting phenomenon because the loneliness is, again, it's trying to get us to reach out for help. But there's always a danger in connection. You might have learned that connection actually feels quite unsafe because maybe you connected with your parents, but then they will disappear again. They were unpredictable. So you kind of learned that, okay, I can be in connection, but it can get taken away at any moment. And so you kind of learn that it's unsafe and dangerous. And so you can start to go into connection with someone, and that starts to bring up the fear of, but what if they leave? Or just the simple fact of connection just reveals and really reveals to you how lonely you do feel deep down. And this is really intense. And, this loneliness can be very intense. And so people tend to deal with it in one of 2 ways. Some people become quite anxiously attached. Excuse me. They will strive to continuously be in relationship, be connected to people. They need to be around people all the time. That kind of soothes their loneliness, takes the edge off it. It keeps it in the unconscious. Other people, and this includes myself, become quite avoidant. It's like that loneliness wound is so painful that connection is such a risky strategy. It's like, but if I connect, then that loneliness is going to be revealed. It might be brought to the surface. My vulnerability will be seen and felt. That's too dangerous. It's too much. It's too risky. Why not just disconnect from everybody, withdraw, numb out, and just feel not very much? Just be by myself, not feeling very much, being quite numb. That's safe and feels familiar. So in these ways, connection, it's not as simple as just like, okay, I'm by myself, I'm going to connect to others. We have mixed motivations. We want to connect deep down, but it can feel quite scary. It might bring up more loneliness. It might bring up our vulnerability. We might be afraid it's going to be taken away. There's a lot of complexity going on around it. So it's not as simple as kind of 1, 2, 3, I just need to make some friends. 4, connection and intimacy does require the tolerance of discomfort. Perhaps the tolerance of this feeling of loneliness. If we do really want to connect with other people, we have to learn that there are these complexities around it and learning to befriend them, learning to be able to hold space for these parts of us. This is the real journey. And it's not really just about on the surface of how many people do I have in my life, because that's still even just cognitive. You have a mental map of yourself and all these different people. Oh, I have a good relationship with them. And that's, you've got this map of all your friends and partners and whatever else. Really, it's, loneliness, you can feel it. It's this, it can come up differently for lots of people, but it typically feels like, quite this heaviness or emptiness in the chest or the belly, this aching pain, this hurt. That's where it lives, not in the head. And so being able to slowly learn to meet that bit by bit, that's where we can come into deeper intimacy with ourselves and with others. We start to make space for this part of us that feels lonely. And it's really about building a relationship with that part of you that feels lonely, coming into contact with that and being able to learn to have capacity to meet it and be with it. That's incredibly powerful. It starts to transmute that loneliness and actually shift it when you can actually be present with it. That's what then starts to make connection to others feel more possible, more open, lighter. You may notice that relationships feel really heavy or difficult because they're stirring up so much stuff. If you can learn to meet that stuff, transmute it, it's a whole different ballgame. This is what I've noticed in my life as I've gone through my own healing process, is that as I've healed the loneliness and the rage and the hurt and all that stuff, there's so much less baggage that I bring to a relationship, and there's so much more space I can allow for myself and for others to be as they are. And if someone wants to go, I want to go over here now, and I want to do this thing, and I don't want to hang out with you, it feels okay. It doesn't feel like it's going to bring up all this immense pain. And so it feels like I can open up to people at a much deeper level than before, and it's a really beautiful thing. The 5th point is that, however, despite this draw we have for connection, we really want connection. I thought, when I was isolating myself, there's many years I've spent isolating myself from other people, thinking, I don't really want to connect with people. I'm a lone wolf. I just want to be by myself. Actually, that was just protecting me from the pain of the loneliness and the pain of the desire to connect. But even as I started connecting more and more with people, getting more intimate and having better relationships, it doesn't really ultimately resolve the loneliness. No other person can feel and hold and meet this loneliness for you. You have to do it yourself. So what connection with others really does is it creates enough safety and support, a structure for you to actually be able to start to meet that lonely part of yourself. Others are like a resource, like I said, a network, this nourishment that you get that lets you finally start to meet yourself. Maybe they are a role model. Maybe they hold space for you. Maybe they just help you to know you're loved, so that when this part of you starts to come up, you can start to meet it. And that's the real sort of function, if that's not too sort of transactional a word, of these people in your life. At least it's one very narrow aspect of it, that they enable you to meet yourself. They can hold you in that space. And that's what really transmutes the loneliness and makes you feel more whole, whether or not you have deep connections with other people now in this moment. You could move to Antarctica, and if you've healed that loneliness wound, you'll be fine. You'll be grand. Just you and the penguins or the polar bears, whichever one it is, and Antarctica, I don't know. And you'll be content in your own company. And then if people come along, suddenly there's a whole cruise ship of people that turns up, you'll be comfortable in that too. You won't need to have your solitude. You won't need to get away from them. You'll be comfortable whether there's loads of people or no one at all. And that's the real gold here. That's when it comes to loneliness, that's the gold we're after. You can transmute that loneliness into this wholeness. As you feel the pain and hold it, it transmutes into a sense of wholeness where people can come and go and you're just okay, present in your wholeness. All is well. In that sense, it's a real gift. I know this is a spiritual cliche that's incredibly annoying, but it is true that when the loneliness comes up, it is a real gift to learn the opportunity to meet that part of you and become more whole out on the other side. And I had this experience recently. I went to a festival last weekend, Buddhafield in the UK, full of annoying hippies. And it brought up this real desire to connect. Specifically, it was romantically, this like drive to connect romantically, find romantic opportunities that was so difficult. I found so difficult, and it was wrapped up with so much pain. But I was able to allow the pain, the sitting down and crying. There was all this wound of unsafety I felt. I felt like I was 2 or 3 years old. My mum was there and there was something that felt really unsafe about it. And I could feel all this pain. A couple of days later, there was all this rage that was coming from the same place. This yelling. I was in a workshop. I was just yelling at the top of my lungs. Just for like, not for long, just like 10 seconds. But this guttural scream of like, of the pain. And I can still feel the shift in my chest, like the openness that's now there to other people. It's changed something. It's not, it's there's still more work to be done. There always is, but I can feel there's more openness in the chest, more openness to other people. And it was that deep pain that I was holding that was like this agonizing pain when I would go towards other people. Like in this case, it was trying to go towards, romantic people I find romantically interesting. You go towards them, and then it's like, pain, freeze, unsafe, not good. And that just has the opportunity to soften slightly. So I hope this has been helpful. Comment below with any questions. You can find my website below where I have lots of resources on this stuff. Check out my other videos where I talk more about the sort of the practical, how do you feel these feelings? And you can work with me as well. I do one-on-one sessions with people, helping them to feel their feelings and heal their stuff. That's down there. Peace out. Bye.